is on support's burden. They did pick up a win last week. Both of these teams are interesting to me because they both carried leads in, I think, 4 of the 5 games that they lost. Okay, so obviously there's early game prowess. There are individuals who demonstrate a lot of skill, especially the top laners, Revenstorm and Kush Marbles, who have demonstrated high KDAs. I believe Kush Marbles is top of the charts for kills in week 1. They lost a 10-3 Urgot game. So there's a lot of throws going on between both CB Clockwork and Support's Burden. It's going to be who can play the mid to late game better amongst the two. They've had a week under their belts. I'm looking at a Support's Burden 2-1 tonight.
Supports Burden 2-1, already putting the prediction set in stone. And honestly, I can't not agree with you there. I personally was also going to throw down the 2-1 support here for Support's Burden. They've shown success not only in their most recent game here coming out of last week, finding that one in a 1 victory, even though they lost the initial 2. And like you said, there were some early leads to be spared. Now, I will say things to note. CB Clockwork had a tough matchup last week. They went up
Right.
against Lotus White. Lotus
Mhm.
White is considered to be at the very tippity top of the current matchup for Light League as a whole right now, or at least one of the more competitive teams, and they fought into a 0-3. And while, yes, we've seen some early lead success from CB Clockwork, I think a lot of the daunting factor of their loss stems, though, from the fact that they had such a difficult time into Lotus White.
And Lotus White isn't a great laning team. They are really more known for their team fighting and their mid-game decision making. So it makes sense that even if you are able to get a gold lead in the first 10 minutes, that mid-game can be really tough. So CB Clockwork had an extremely difficult matchup, like you said.
Right.
I think that their bot lane is going to be the lane that they want to play through. Dory K is off role, but I think if you can get a little bit more comfortable on an engaged tank support, they'll be able to transition that lead that they did get in bot lane 2 out of the 3 games against Lotus Whites and play through there. It's up to Revenstorm to kind of nullify Kush Marbles on the top lane, who's really supports Burden's major carry. And if the bot lane can play through that side for Clockwork, that's how they're going to play kind of this double-sided map, right? They want to split the map in half. It's going to be a Clockwork bot side. It's going to be a Support's Burden top side.
I can get behind that one. As personally, though, I will be Clockwork struggles as a team as a whole. They quite have their pace in terms of the full spectrum of control out there. Looking like I'm cutting through here. Hopefully, we can get that fixed. Having some trouble with some storms in the area tonight and some general construction going on. But either way, I'll continue the point as we go here. CB Clockwork, like I said, having some trouble getting towards that mid game, finding a really success in terms of team fight orientation. And I think that might come back to bite them here in terms of facing against supports.
Yeah, I'm looking for just a simple composition build for the draft, right? I kind of want Dory K. I think he played a couple of Morgana games. I'm looking for engaged tanks in the support role. I'm looking for big team fight wombos, things like Oriana, things like Ashe. We saw 3 Ashe games from It's Just Gray on Redacted. Now I can remember his name, right? Who provided a ton of utility in these team fights. I know. And despite, even having lane struggles, right? I think they lost 2 out of those 3 lanes. He was able to come into team fights, provide that CC, and do his job. When you give players in late league these compositions where they can stack CC on top of each other and just keep keep your opponents still and do tons of damage on top of that, I think that's where you find success. So I think that maybe this transition will be good for Clockwork.
I think they might their way into it, but give me a break. Let's look towards that top lane you've kind of so vehemently discussed in terms of being marquee matchup. Who are you looking for champ?
Okay, so I mean, this guy pulls out all the stops. He played Wukong, Urgot, and the Game 3 Vayne last week, and it was actually the Vayne who he played the worst on. I think he went 7-5 into a Malphite lane, which is, albeit a hard
You're playing
matchup
in a
for him.
Malphite.
Yeah.
Give him credit where credit's due. It's difficult.
Exactly, but the dude's gonna play a carry, right? He's a Riven 1 trick, so he already has this I want blood mentality within him. That Wukong big team fight Cyclone ultimate, right, providing 2 layers of CC. The Urgot, also a great fear if you can manage it. It's a little bit harder to pull off, but that Beyond Death pull into, like, if you flash into 5 with that fear is just massive. The fear lasts so long. So he wants these carries with giant CC mechanics on top of them. It's going to be Kush Marbles doing a lot of team fight work and even some split push work, possibly in the top lane.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, it's definitely going to be the choice to watch here. Just to update everyone at home, we're still having a little bit of some inconsistencies with getting full players into lobby here. So hopefully we'll see them shortly. One thing to note is there is a couple rulings regarding late show ups, and that comes back to bans, and hopefully we won't have to address those. I believe the ruling is 15 minutes. Am I correct, Dunzy?
Yes. So what's going to happen is I believe we have a sub for the jungler of CB Clockwork. Supports Burden has agreed to have them lose their 3 bans, the first 3 bans in
Ooh.
all 3 games. So they're going to have someone new that we haven't seen in Light League yet. So we'll get that information to you in just a minute.
Ooh, so supports Burden losing tree chunks tonight?
No, it's going to be Clockwork losing their jungler.
My apologies. Okay, so Clockwork not going to be having to celebrate on their belt, losing all 3 bans. That could really be a make or break for this team. I know you discussed earlier how supports Burden, while they are strong and they found some general success, they're still a bit of a wash, and they actually have a weakness in terms of their banning phase.
Yeah, it's tough for them because, like we said, they have a lot of one tricks on their team. We have the Riven in the top lane. I believe it's also Jester Hat who's come out and professed his love all over our Discord for Sona. But I think he's shown some CC tank engage champions. Plays the Leona, plays the Nautilus. Jester Hat wants to provide that CC for your team. I think he played Leona all 3 games last week. It might be a priority pick tonight as well because Dory K can also default back to this kind of CC tank champ. We'll see if that's first pickable on the blue side or if it's going to be even banned against supports Burden.
I will say it's a tough one out there. Bit of a shame I didn't get to see too much of them. Dunzy, I don't know how much more I can discuss about this one as a whole. Is there any last thoughts you want to throw out there for these 2 themes before I take this one to break?
I do think that they're very closely matched. It's gonna come down to mechanics, sure, and lane, but we saw both teams throw possibly in the mid games. So it's gonna be coming down to simpler draft compositions. Like I said, 2-1 supports Burden tonight. Write it down.
Okay. Well, you've heard it here, folks. We both believe it's going to be a 2-1 here for Supports Burden. Hopefully, they can live up to their name. Maybe not. Either way, we're going to be going to a short break here as we are having some difficulties regarding the draft, and we'll be right back as soon as we get that one up.
When the curtain falls, risk it all, hold nothing back. Seize the day, we must attack. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high. And we all fight at the Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the XLNC Light League. We apologize for that little break there. Had some confusion regarding these teams getting into draft, but hopefully it's all fixed up and ready. We last left you on a couple notes here with our support towards the team themselves. The namesake supports Burden. Hopefully they might come through. But Dunsey, all I can really think about right now is the crushing defeat and success you found tonight on the pre-show.
Oh, thank you. Tied with my boy Shells over there. You know, the color casters just taking the dub tonight. Good work, Shells. I'm glad that you went big or go home, man. You're showing who's boss, stepping up. We got a good matchup tonight. Someone's got to pick up at least, what, 2 wins tonight, minimum. So I'm excited. These guys are 1-5 total on week 1 coming in here. So going to be a turnaround week for a couple of these guys. You see CB Clockwork has not banned anyone. They're just going to let the timer run out for the first 3 bans. They are using a player named Anderson Cooper, who is e-subbing in for their jungler Decelerate tonight.
Well, hopefully it proves well for them. I know we also have potentially more subs coming in throughout the rest of the night. That's something that might possibly be brought up as it's coming through. But either way, we're coming out onto this draft here, just waiting for them to lock in. I know it's quite the rush. They haven't quite got there just yet.
Yeah, we're making our way over there. It's kind of crazy to lose these bans because you're playing against the one-trick team, right? And you're losing the first 3 bans, which means it gives Supports Burden an opportunity to pick up that Riven, to pick up that Sona. I believe the 3rd one-trick is the mid laner who plays Syndra. I mean, there's 3 opportunities for you right there to grab all 3 of your super comfortable champions. And actually, Clockwork is banning Viego. Okay, so Viego is disabled. So
Yeah.
we're just kind of flying through this.
Ban Jace next.
Yeah. Jace is enabled this week, so it's just Viego. I'm wondering if they'll ban something troll like Heimerdinger or something.
I wouldn't take any risks. It is Supports Burden. They are pretty niche, and who knows? The Heimerdinger could come out. I
True,
wouldn't hold
that's
them
right.
against it. All right.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I mean, like Supports Burden, they like those kinds of interesting picks. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to get into it. We see that Volibear was banned away from Anderson Cooper. This guy, I just quickly researched. He's been spamming the new Rumble jungle, but he's also got a wide pool playing Skarner, Ivern, even Nocturne. So going to be interesting to see how they work with this new player kind of just thrown into the flux here.
I honestly don't think Supports Burden are going to change up much of the strategy here going into the draft. They're going to focus on the power picks that they don't want to see, right? So the Diana coming out, no surprise there.
Yeah. I love the Volibear as well, just because it's such a flex. You know what I mean? You can have it in both the top and the jungle. So nice bans there from Supports Burden as we wait for the 3rd mist ban coming out here from CB Clockwork. I'm just super excited. I want to see the Riven tonight. Give me the Riven from Kush Marbles.
Hey man, I'd like to see it too. And I will say Supports Burden does have the wonderful opportunity that they don't have to deal with the first 3 bans. We talked a lot about how they're very pick oriented in terms of the fact that they can get banned out easily. But I don't know if the Riven's exactly where you want to go here. Granted, Kush Marbles is playing into Revan's Storm, and they might be wanting to take that into the duel of sorts, because that's going to be that, of course, marquee matchup that we discussed. But I don't know if Riven's always the best optional choice there.
You're not wrong about that. I will say it was banned, as you see the first pick Rumble Jungle coming out from their e-sub here. I will say that Riven was banned all 3 games in week 1, and I really, really doubt he'll have a shot to play it for the rest of the season. I don't think any team wants to give a Riven one trick their OTP unless you're extremely confident about your counter matchup. The thing is, Supports Burden have both red pick 3 and red pick 5 available. It won't make it to pick 5, but if they want it, pick 3 is great for a counter pick because you get 2 bans after it and you get to see the first 3 picks of CB Clockwork.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It looks like a good Nocturne response here. Granted, this can be flexed, and we have seen its potential to do so. So I like the strategy to begin with here from Supports Burden. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that just kind of shoved into that jungle role right off the beginning. And it does provide a little bit of counter, given that it is semi-global in terms of presence. And it also has some good defensive opportunities, now also being especially paired with the Seraphine.
Yeah, and so we've seen Seraphine mid lane. It was banned
Sure.
one game against them. It can be flexed as well between War Buffy and Jester Hat, but we saw this in game one against who did they play last week? Was it Classic? Or
Oh,
is it oh, they played
sometimes
Divine. They played
he
Divine
played
Ascension.
Divine Ascension.
Yeah, so they flexed it, and it was actually War Buffy on the mid lane Seraphine. So Tristana Response, also another flex.
Another flex, but I more well, you know what? You're right. That could
Into a
definitely slide.
Seraphine? Yeah.
Definitely could find success into that mid lane if that it will be the pair up, but right now they don't quite know. But this third pick is going to start to kind of give us a figure of what this team will look like. Clockwork looking like we'll see the bot lane possibly secured with Tristana Thresh, but Thresh
Mhm.
definitely going to be going into that support role into the hands here of Dory K.
And the reason why this Thresh pick is really, really strong, as we see the Kaisa locked in here, is because Jester had played 3 Leona games in week 1, and guess what? This Thresh right here on Dory K absolutely counters Leona. He also played the Morgana into the Thresh last week. I think he wants the Thresh this time for himself. Dory K is preemptively seeing Jester Hat possibly pick up this CC tank and hard countering him.
Well, hopefully it stems well. That Seraphine could rotate down, possibly in that support position to counter that a little bit. But granted, be more appropriate or akin to see in the mid. But the Kai'Sa is the given select pick here for supports burden into that bot lane. We discussed a little bit of how the bot lane could be not so much of a central focus, but some things that really get supports burden online.
And unfortunately, that Kaisa lock-in does mean we don't see the ribbon. It also means that CB Clockwork takes that off the board. So I'm heartbroken. Maybe in game 2 or 3 we'll see it pulled out, but not in game 1.
Sadly, you can't really pick this one out, especially since the Rumble more than likely has been already confirmed to be going towards John Anderson in that jungle, playing off of some of these new successes we've seen in the Rumble in the jungle. No pun
Mhm.
intended. But I will say, bitch sad. We always want to see those one tricks. But either way, more mid lane focused bans coming out here from Supports Burn. That now numbers what looks to be 4 bans in that mid lane with the Silas and Fizz stacking on top of that one. Obviously, Clockwork's got something up their sleeves here.
Yeah, this is a very large target ban at
Booty banging
Booty Bang and
Billy.
Billy. That's right, who we saw earlier. Billy didn't have a great showing in week 1, but the thing is, he was against probably the best mid laner from Lotus White here in week 1 in the
True.
light league. Right, Saint Alucard was massive, and he had an Anivia an amazing patented Anivia game. This time, though, I'm looking at Booty Bang and Billy. He might be banging some booties tonight. So it's gonna be rough. His pool is pinched, but he's gonna get the oh no, it's gonna be blind pick for CB Clockwork as Camille is selected for supports burden.
Right, giving them a little bit of some support into that gauge, some lockdown in the back line, maybe potentially. And things to note and bring up that Booty Bang and Billy could be on that Tristana here tonight. That still is within
Right.
completely flexible right. But the Malphite is picked to give a somewhat sense of a late counter to provide a bit more team fight presence, even though it will be still a very tough matchup for that top lane. So we're going to be keeping our eyes keen on that one. And now the Echo to finish this one out. You think that one's going to be landing in the mid lane here?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be an Echo mid and a Rumble jungle. Yeah, we're gonna see this from Booty Bang and Billy into Seraphine, which I don't mind either. He's gonna be wave clearing pre-6. He'll be fine doing that Seraphine. It's just gonna be a completely wave clear game. The thing is, Echo's gonna completely outroam the Seraphine. It's up to Booty Bang and Billy to make some damage happen, possibly help his top laner out, Ravenstorm, into this really tough matchup into the Camille with Malphite Camille, right? You don't want Kush Marbles to get rolling in that early game like he has done. So we'll see that.
Hold on. Hold the thought. Run me over with this Annie pickup here. Please inform me.
Okay, supports burden is just coming out of nowhere. I want to say this is Jester Hats. I really, really want to say it's Jester Hat on Annie support, but this is kind of just a coin flip for me at this point. I cannot confirm if it's going to be mid or support here for Seraphine and Annie. I think I would
Where,
prefer.
where do you want to see it land up in the end here, though? Recnal or Booty? My apologies. Jester Hat or Recnal?
Man, I think I would prefer the Annie in the support role because you want to pair the CC with Kaisa, provide her a stack. provide her an ultimate dash when it's available. You can stack that Tibbers early and then have Kaisa fly in.
Right,
I
lockdown, get that hail of blades off, stack the
Yeah,
passive up. That's a huge chunk of burst for the support Burden's bot lane that could actually mean well for them here. And going into what is that thresh, you're going to need that kind of lockdown because the peel, it's plentiful.
I gotta tell you though, I'm really not a fan of any of these lanes besides the top lane for supports burden. I think CB Clockwork, despite being down 3 bans, have done an excellent job with their draft up to the very end here. The Annie pick does throw a wrench into possibly, they have to figure out where do they want or how do they want the Echo style to be playing. If it's in a Seraphine, you're gonna shove and roam. If it's in the Annie, it's a much harder lane. Um, but I think that it really, really opens up support Spurted's bot lane to be capitalized on. So it's going to be interesting to see where these guys go.
Personally, I think it's going to be based off of a soul to soul skill matchup into each of these individual lanes. We talk a lot about the team presence and the fact that these teams don't quite have one as of yet. They're still kind of trying to figure out some of those identities. So we look to these lanes, especially in the early game. And when I think of that, I really got to look at these from a pick point stand that in the first 10 minutes, that's where we're going to see the major leads start out. That's who's going to get a handle over these games because I really think that's where it's kind of decided. And there's a difference between supports Burden, who can take an early lead and extend that into a further collapse, versus CB Clockwork, who takes an early lead and sometimes gets up.
Yeah, it's you know what though, like we talked about earlier about what the teams need to do compositionally, they each drafted massive team fight ultimates with a ton of wombo opportunity and a lot of CC, right? The Rumble ultimate coming across the entire team that could be stacked on top of the Unstoppable Force. It could be stacked on top of the Parallel Convergence from Echo, these huge CC AoE areas. And then you have an Equalizer fall on top of that. That's a massive amount of damage. On the flip side, as I think we lost Zephyr here, hopefully he can come back. On the flip side, you have the Encore that's being layered on top of the Hexagon from Camille, or the Pentagon. Is it a Pentagon or a Hexagon? The Hex, I
It's
think.
a hexagon.
Yeah, all right.
Also, you
The
didn't
Hex.
lose me. I just happen to be very, very still.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're like an insect ready to to pounce. And then you have Annie Tibbers with darkness surrounding them. Like these team fights are going to be explosive. They're going to be fast, and we're going to see a ton of damage.
I will say the Annie is currently in the mid lane into the hands of Reknal here, putting that Seraphine
Mhm.
into position of support. And that's a little bit different than what we were expecting. And I honestly think the lineup here for supports Burden is looking worse and worse.
It's oh man. So okay, this helps the mid lane for supports burden if it's Annie mid, as long as the bot lane can survive and scale. At this point, when you switch the Annie to mid and you pull Seraphine down here into a Thresh lane, all they want to do in order to quote unquote win the lane is go even, right? You have so much
Right.
scaling. There's not a ton of kill threats. You have to survive against Tristana Thresh, who's going to be on you nonstop. They're going to be shoving. They're going to get scuttle priority. They can even stack Drakes because Rumble is such a fast jungle clearer now that it's going to be difficult for their bot lane to ever support Nocturne and to address the scuttles and to address the Drakes. So CB Clockwork, the early game really is in favor of them if it's going to be in the Seraphine bot lane.
I think that's definitely something we'll have to wait and watch out for. But to kind of close this one off, we've talked a little bit about Rumble here for Anderson Cooper. Give me your opinion, though, on Tree Trunks on this Nocturne. We haven't really discussed its presence here yet.
I love Paranoia just as an ultimate, especially in late league. I think it's super powerful. You don't even have to use the actual dash, right? A lot of the times, just providing the darkness, the utility is so good. Holding onto it for a while and then kind of scoping out the team fight, seeing if you want to engage, is worthwhile. Level 6, it's a little bit weak. The AO or the range on that Paranoia is very small. I want Tree Trunks to be power farming, marching this Rumble on Anderson Cooper, and then matching him, I should say. And then once they're able to scale into the later game, he can provide a little bit more one-on-one solo presence, whereas Anderson Cooper's going to have a bigger team fight ultimate and ability.
So you would say Clockwork has, of course, from this matchup lined up for themselves a really good presence in terms of the wombo, in
Mhm.
terms of having team fight success versus supports burden, whereas personally, I think for my personal analysis, they've got a lot of pick. The lockdown's
Yeah.
there. They can disengage, throw the CC out. That will really disrupt some of these team fights and hopefully find picks like Forgotten Turtle or Booty Banging Billy if he doesn't have that chrono break. I will say I do feel like Clockwork, if they have the right cohesion, which they themselves have admitted that they don't really have a good grasp of playing around this mid to late game area, you know, they should win this out comp wise.
Yeah, compositionally 5v5 they win. I think the key for Clockwork this game is to not allow Kush Marbles to pop off in lane. Once Kush Marbles gets a lead, Revenstorm's going to be on an island. He's going to be pushed in nonstop, and Camille is one of those champions that can literally 1v5 and get out with a kill or two. He's been proven to be this carry. Supports Burden, wants to have a lead and then transition into a possible 1-3-1 split. I'm going to give it to Clockwork, though. Game 1, they take their first win.
I think that's a wide bet. I still think Burden can definitely find this one. Consider me, I guess, by maybe, hopefully not towards this roster. But I do think Support can definitely still have it in the future. They need to manage those appropriately, but hopefully it will for them. I'm going to place my them and hopefully it won't to bite. Said though, we're going to be going a short here before we get and make on to the Rift. Dunsey, we're going to be leaving here on the desk. We'll be joining you, but now we're going to be passing it over to and Hickory as they'll be joining us once again after our little break here. So, round.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Hickory, and I'm joined on the desk by Shelatron for the first time. We are new to the XLNC. Well, he's a little bit more of a veteran than I am. We've gotten past the game show. That was probably rigged. We gotten past the AD. It is time for the game. And Shelatron, since we've never casted before, I have a game that I like to play with my analysts. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, so I always win this game, and it's because it's who gets first blood on whom at what time in the game.
Oh, that's simple. I think it's going to be Anderson Cooper getting first blood on Recknell.
Okay.
In the first, let's call it 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Anderson Cooper, first blood on Recknell, 4 minutes. I'll remember that. Thank you very much. The reason I always win is because I don't guess.
Oh, you can't lose if you.
Yeah, right.
Wait. No. You're not winning. You're just not losing.
That's fine.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's fine enough for me. Anything we need to take a look at, rune-wise, or like anything in particular start-wise here before we kind of let the junglers take their pathing?
Well, we do see both junglers starting at the bot side camps, pathing to the top, which makes sense because this is definitely going to be, like our guys on the desk did mention, a top-centric matchup. I'm not surprised at all to see both Tree Trunks and Anderson Cooper wanting to focus on the Camille and Malphite matchup, as we do see Kush Marbles faking the leash right here. But my eyes go to Jester Hat going for the Summon Airy instead of the Guardian, which I like both of those keystones for Seraphine. I don't have a problem with either one, but you do usually see that Guardian come out for Seraphine supports.
Yeah, I also kind of think with the Thresh as well, you're going to be feeling a bit of a all-in coming as opposed to the poke and poke and poke. You know, we were talking about the Seraphine a little bit during the break and how we could have seen it in potentially in the mid lane. I think the AD even mentioned seeing Seraphine in the mid lane. So we'll have to see. Maybe we don't have the science that Jester has just yet. Yeah, I think it should be all right. We did see that 100% hook rate coming out of Dory K at level 1. That's always something to keep in mind, getting their heads. I think it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, Dory K is a player I definitely want to look at. Both these supports, like the desk mentioned, played a ton of Leona last week. 5 of the 6 games that were played between these two supports were Leona. And now we're looking at a champ that has a 70% win rate in the league right now. Not getting picked at all in this first game, so my eyes are definitely on, apart from the top side, these supports and how they are going to go ahead and pilot these champions. Wow, Dory.
Yeah, great hook, blast jump as well for Forgotten Turtle. I don't think they have the damage just yet, but it's a really, really good trade for basically nothing invested. Going to get the potion off there as well, and about a 75% chunk. Bit of damage in the top lane as well. You might be wrong about that first blood flash away from Revan. No, you're still right. You still got 30 seconds left for that first blood burning bag. Ooh, another hook. I told you 100%. You got to keep up with that. Nah, we're fine. Could be a fight, though.
Could happen.
No. I thought that was the kill on Recknell. So Flash is down top lane in jungle.
Yeah, no flash for Anderson Cooper or for Revan Storm. And that was just this 2 junglers pathing top, and we see Tree Trunks able to get that Scuttle Crab there. That's going to be a win for him right there. But we still do trade that over on the bot side. It's going to be Anderson Cooper taking that one. But yeah, I did not win the bet. We do cross the 4-minute mark. Dory K misses his first death sentence. That's a sad sight to see in the game right now. But with pushing the bot lane, hold up.
It's just a little trade. We're just hanging out. No mana on Recknell.
Yeah. Long range on that last auto. Gotta love that out of Annie. And hold up. Kush Marbles.
Yeah, Ravenna Storm does not have the flash here. No ignite there for Kush Marbles, though, so I'm not certain this all-in is going to go continue. But actually, Tree Trunks is here. This should be a pretty easy pickup. I would say they're just going to give it over to Kush Marbles here, and there it is. First blood for the top laner.
First blood over to Kush Marbles, and that is a very, very scary sight because Camille right now is still strong in lane. Hold up,
Ooh, flash forward. He still doesn't have any mana, though. Oh, that was a mistake and a half.
That was what we call ambitious if we want to stay respectful. If we're in the all chat, we say something else. But that you have to love a guy who can go for it. Recknell on the Annie mid. I mean, just going for Annie mid in itself is a tip of the hat going for it. But the flash, oh my, Dory with the death sentence.
That's all.
I can't even get a point now because there's action all over the rift. But yeah, going for that that flash engage with the stun. was a bit ambitious, but I guess that's just Recknell saying he wants to go ahead and assert his dominance in the lane, and you gotta show love to that on an Annie into an Echo. Just letting Booty Banging Billy know that he's not the only booty banger in the league right now.
Nothing wrong with banging booties, if I do say so myself. Pretty decent CS lead as well for Recknell. He has not backed yet, so that is part of it. That being said, Booty Banging did not use his TP just yet, so let's see if he can level this out a little bit. But point being, pretty good CSing last hitting here from Recknell versus an Echo, which isn't always the easiest thing with a squishy champion like Annie. Keeping it nice. Dory K is here. Recknell has no flash, then though the death sentence goes wide.
Flay?
That could have been a lot. That is a lot of damage. Tibbers wants to say something here. Booty Banging does not have his ultimate, but he doesn't need it. Gets a pseudo solo kill, and Dory K walks his way out. Easy peasy. Great gank there from the support. I love Roman supports.
Oh yeah, when your support does roam and you make an effort. Hold up, Tree Trunks and Instant Cooper.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. These boys. Wait, there's a TP from Recknell coming to the Dragon Pit. Maybe trying to make a move onto Instant Cooper, but no, it's going to disengage. There is a push in the bot lane for support's burden. They're going to pull this dragon out of the pit and go ahead and take first dragon, unless Forgotten Turtle feels froggy here.
No, I think it's quite right. They're just keeping their eyes on it. First Drake, like you said, at 6:15, so it's the 11 or so on the next one. It'll be an Ocean Drake, so we will have either a Cloud or a Mountain Soul. Not my favorite, really, in honesty, but, you know, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing, and I actually don't mind Cloud Souls too much. I don't think that... Actually, no, I don't think that either one of these comps has a very good Cloud Soul composition. I don't hate what I'm seeing from CB Clockwork for a Cloud Soul potential, but we'll have to see how that works out in the next 4.5 minutes. But the thing I wanted to mention earlier, if Booty Banging Billy doesn't get killed here, ult is up, is that that 400 gold infusion into Kush Marbles early in the game with that first blood is so strong, because he's going to be even stronger in the lane. But Camille, that has a very strong early game, becomes an even bigger menace in the mid to late game. Once we see the lane phase in and Kush Marbles is out there just side laning, getting pushed on these towers when there's objectives on the other side of the map, you have to make decisions. You say, do we answer Kush Marbles? Hold up.
Or do we get a kill with the Equalizer blocking the way out? Kush Marbles is almost out, but he doesn't have flash, which should be picked up by Anderson Cooper. To bring you back to your point, I like it because here comes the Paranoia in the bot lane. I was just about to mention Paranoia plus the Camille is just a classic composition in those kind of later game split pushes that you were just mentioning.
Oh yeah, you split push, draw someone over there to answer the Camille, which is hard to do, honestly. Camille is a very strong split pusher. Once you answer her, you only send one, then you have Tree Trunks off of Vision, use that Paranoia. Now you're in a 2v1 with a Nocturne and a Camille. Not a place you want to be at all. But we'll have to see how the mid game works out. Whoa.
He just doesn't miss, and he doesn't need to do anything but hit. No ultimate there from Jester Hat. He's just level 5, so it won't be a lot of a return here. I think he's just kind of toying with his prey here in the bot lane, honestly.
Oh yeah, Dory is having a lot of fun here, just saying, okay, look, you can't stand behind a minion. We will kill that minion, and in the same split second as that auto attack goes through, I'm pressing Q. Look at this right here.
Hits yet another one. Drops a box as well, maybe going a little bit farther than they originally thought. Forgotten Turtle flashes forward. He does get the kill. He does get the rocket jump as well as we look for something in the mid lane. And a really easy, clean kill there set up by Dory K with a couple hooks in a row.
This is Dory K not only having an impact in the bot lane, but remember, he did have that roam to the mid lane as well. So he's having a very, very aggressive early game, but also a very effective one across the rift. You gotta respect a support who's able to do so much for multiple lanes here. Dory K, his aggression and making himself very, very known on the map early.
Yeah, the support's burden for CB Clockwork is definitely paying off pretty well.
But
that didn't land, did it?
Oh no, I think it did. I was going to ride out smooth, but yeah, I definitely think that he's having a very great game, and they're capitalizing on this with him roaming back up to go ahead and take this Herald at 9 minutes. I mean, this is just an amazing beginning of the game for CB Clockwork. Their comp looks like a very, very good comp, and it's going to scale very well as well. Maybe not as strong, maybe about equally as strong as support's burden, but if you are able to get some gold infusion onto either of your carries, either the Echo or the Tristana, you'll have a really great game. Uh-oh.
Yeah, speaking of the gold, we will in a moment as the Paranoia comes into the top lane. Revan Storm does have his flash, but there's no way that he needs to use it. Kush Marvel's had the Hex Tech ultimatum on him anyway. But bringing us back, the gold was about 1,000, just about 800 now, and if production would do me the favor to switch over things, we got a pretty sizable gold lead here for Kush Marvels in the top lane, but then a lot of it is on this bot lane that we're talking about. Forgotten Turtle set up by Dory K with nearly 1,000 gold lead. Actually, the entire game, the team's gold lead is basically sitting on Forgotten Turtle. And I mean, Tristana is not really the worst person I'd like to see, a couple K on, honestly.
Oh yeah, Tristana is the player I want to see all that gold on. Maybe Booty Bang and Billy on this Echo as well, because, oh wow, Dory K.
Incredible with the equalizer on top. Really good encore, but it's just not enough. If that maybe if that was a mid lane Seraphine, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Done no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what, when you have 3 people in your lane, and honestly, that wasn't even a gank that was going to happen. I think they saw the potential for this setup, but said, "Nah, we're not going to do that right now." Dory says, "I'm hitting this hook regardless whether you show up or not." And they say, "Okay, Dory, you're going to keep hitting these hooks. We're going to go ahead and make a move on a Jester Hat." That is another kill over to the side of CB Clockwork, and now this gold lead has gone back up to 2,000. They've taken the first turn of the game, all those plates. And now CB Clockwork's in a very favorable position, and this Ocean Drake is coming up right this second. This is a very, very good position for CB Clockwork to start this game off.
Yeah, Paranoia is down as well. They do know that the equalizer is down, so it's going to be kind of no ultimates versus no ultimates, but I feel like they just got to give this up, especially with no tower, and they will equalize it. 1-1 Drakes, and it's going to be a Mountain Soul.
Mountain Soul with this, with a Malphite on you, and even with a Thresh who isn't really the tankiest now. Dory K's just on a style. Come on, Dory, stop that. This is going to be a very, very great Soul full side of CB Clockwork, but this just gives the opportunity for a Sports Burden to stack up 3 Mountain Drakes themselves. So we'll see how these teams do scale up as we move along. We do see across the items in the inventories, Kush Marbles already has that Divine Sunderer in the back pocket. So that 400 gold infusion did not take very long at all to go ahead and turn that into a mythic. He's the only champ outside of this Tristana who's had a very great game, enabled mostly by Dory K on the Thresh, to have a mythic on them right now. So top laner and this hyper scaling 80 carry are looking to be very, very strong right now before you even crack 15 minutes.
It's quickly turning into kind of top lane versus bot lane, which is almost exactly what the AD had called out, where support's burden would be looking to their top laner, whereas Seed, whoa, that's a lot of damage. Good equalizer. Reknal will probably go down, but man, was that a burst. Reknal should still go, and he does to the Revan Storm, but man, was that an easy trade for him.
Hickory, hold up, this might not be anything here, but I like to speak on the numbers a lot of times. I say that there's nothing better in the world than results-based analysis, and I'm seeing Reknal pump out some damage on this Annie. All he had was Hex Tech, Blasting Wand, and Sword Boots. This Annie might be the new pick. This Annie might be the new tech. This Annie mid might just be the new meta. If Reknal is able to keep pumping out this damage and is able to keep getting these shutdowns, this could be the ultimate mid lane pick for the XLNC Light League.
I think you're gonna have to sell me a little bit more on this. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to the mid lane. I'm probably the only Ryze main you've ever met. So I like it when it's slow, I like it when it's farm, and I like it when it's control mage. With any can do those things, but I'm not my favorite. That being said, you're right. Not even a finished item can rip Anderson Cooper here apart. We'll see how it goes. I think what I'd really like to see is Annie versus a champion that isn't an Echo or another kind of burst mage in reality. I think that's really where my issue is, that the Echo or the LeBlanc or something like that, just I don't feel it too much. But we do have about 2 minutes here on the Mountain Drake with a 2,500 gold lead here for CB Clockwork. They're looking really good in this early game, as we mentioned a couple times. Some mythics coming in as well for the rest of our team. Divine Sunder on Tree Trunks, I really do like it. I'm very much on board with this slightly beefier Nocturne, if you will, plus the animation canceled. That was a blind hook that Dory K just hit into the box, into the flash from Jester Hat, and it should be a kill. Even with the Encore, Forgotten Turtle picks up his second of the game. I'm pretty certain Vision wasn't on him.
No. There was probably no vision at all. There is a ward, but it's closer to the opposite side of that brush. I'm not quite sure if it actually caught Jester Hat where he was. That was just another amazing hook from Dory K. But here's this.
He can see it. Okay, he can.
He can?
He can if we switch to blue, but I did not think he could see it.
Well, I know what I just saw. I just saw Recnal solo out Revan Storm on this Annie. And
I didn't even see it.
Oh, yeah. Kush Marbles.
Yeah, here's the Paranoid. On to the very, very strong Forgotten Turtle. He does have Flash, he does have Heal, but it might not be enough. Tree Trunks does pick it up. Actually, shut down there for Cook, and the fight's kind of falling apart a little bit. Booty Bang Bailey does still have his ultimate. Cook is way far too deep into enemy territory. He gets picked up by Dory K, and the trade kill there with Tree Trunks, I think, as well from Booty Bang and Billy. Didn't even use his ultimate. Kind of falls apart as Kush Marbles gets pushed out.
Yeah, so it's a 2-for-1 in favor of CB Clockwork. I thought that Kush Marbles was able to get a very good engage on them, but that was a very disjointed fight that was fought on two different fronts. That I think would have been a little bit better. It would have gone in Sport Burnham's favor pretty heavily if they were all grouped together instead of two on one side and a Camille flanking from the backside. Forgotten Turtle did go ahead and get shut down. That's going to be Cook getting 200 extra gold for a total of 500. And that's a good way to get your Kaisa back in the game after having really an abysmal laning phase, not really because of poor play, but because of just exemplary play out of Dory K on this Thresh. With this Dragon coming up right now, we might see another fight, another 5v5 potentially, if Revan Storm decides to teleport in.
Is backing. He does have the teleport. They might be giving this up. Here's the TP from Revan Storm. I feel like they've got to just give it up at this point. No ultimates on the board, very few flashes. And we'll just be gifted over to the team. Oh, no, the TP is coming in. I'm not sure if I'm feeling this. We'll see how it does play out. Revan Storm does have the Unstoppable Force in about a second or two. I'm not sure about decision-making here. Dory K does have flash, but Booty Bang and Billy can just walk over the wall. Yeah, a very weird decision there, actually.
Weird for multiple reasons, because look, the OBJ was gone. You're not gonna walk into Revan Storm, who does have that unstoppable force right there on him right there, and Kush Marbles giving up his teleport after the play was already done effectively means that his split pushing is a lot weaker. You could have been splitting bot lane with the Herald maybe being the focus for your team, and then you could teleport in there if you want to rotate to that objective. But now with a split pushing Camille with no teleport, the threat isn't really as strong. Can't just come in out of nowhere and Dory K.
What a hook yet
That's
again. There's the Lantern. It should be an easy kill, and Forgotten Turtle just explodes Regnal. I don't care how good you think this Annie is when it's a 2v1.
I mean, when it's a 2v1, maybe it can work. When it's a 2v1 with Dory K playing this Thresh, it makes me wonder, why was Dory even playing Leona last week? He played one game of Morgana, 2 games of Leona, dropped that champion's win rate down substantially, but uh-oh.
No flash here on Forgotten Turtle. He does have the rocket, but the Encore does miss. Tree Trunk still probably can get onto him, though. Nearsighted into the fleeing, and he's just going to go down. Not enough heal or mana for the jump. Cook gets killed in the exchange, though, and so does Tree Trunks. Why was Cook so far forward? Double kill there 3-0 for Booty Bang and Billy all of a sudden.
Booty Bang and Billy 3-0 with 4 stacks on the Dark Seal. Yeah, the question of why Cook was so far pushed forward is a great one that the historians will have to write about and break down for us, because honestly I have no clue what was going through his mind there. But even with all that happening with Tree Trunks and Cook going down, Kush Marbles without teleport was able to go ahead and take that tier 2 top turret. So maybe Booty Bang and Billy is getting very strong, but Kush Marbles is finding advantages on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, he's got an incredible amount of gold here. The second most on the entire map. Excuse me, third most in the entire map. My misread there. It's going to be Forgotten Turtle with 8K. Anderson Cooper just behind at 7,700 and 7,100 for Kush Marbles. So he is still in this game, but his entire team is 5,000 behind. And we'll have a Drake up in about 230 and the Baron in just a few seconds. I can't imagine either of these teams are looking for an on-spawn Baron, though.
Okay, Hickory, I had a lot of questions in the draft. I'm glad I wasn't on the desk for that. But now I have questions about this game. Yes, the side of supports burden is very far behind, 5K gold behind, like you mentioned. But now I'm looking at the inventories of CB Clockwork. My eyes go to the most fed member of the team, Forgotten Turtle. Going for the full year late build with the Stormrazor second, I'm a bit confused because PD on Tristana is just so strong. I mean, at this point, I would rather you just forget about going second item, finishing an item, and just go Bloodthirster second. Just save your money, go Bloodthirster second, and not go for Stormrazor. I understand the slow is very strong, but PD's better. You may as well just have gone even IE second, like the old days.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too much either. You mentioned the slow. It could be a fear of paranoia or like a hook shot from Kush Marvels and just trying to, auto and rocket jump out. I'm not going to speak for it. But I don't think the value is really worth. You're right. Rapid fire on Forgotten Turtle or Phantom Dancer. I mean, Phantom Dancer is just so strong. Unstoppable force in the top lane. Does he have enough damage? Oh, he's got a team with him. It doesn't really matter. We're going to watch Kush Marvels run for a second. But
oh, no, he flies that way.
Not sure about that flash. Here comes the paranoia. Maybe they want to turn this fight. They go on to Dory K. The hook shot does miss. The equalizer does not. What an encore. But there is just no damage to follow after the last call. Dory K gets a kill. Stopped TP in the bot lane here for Booty Bangin', so the fight will not continue. Reknal might be in a little bit of trouble, though. If he continues his fight, he does flash out. Ooh!
Really?
Shivers. No way. Dreamers doesn't have paranoia, so they're going to start with the Baron. Kind of a botched fight there because Kush Marvel's a little bit too far forward.
Yeah, Kush Marvel's just playing a little bit too aggressively into Revenstorm, who did have that unstoppable force. Tree Trunk's gonna have to be careful because Dory K is a monster. Oh, the spell shield. Great spell shield here. Don't think you get in here, but I want to see the flash smite if you got it on you.
I think he's looking for it, and it's right now, but he gets knocked out by the blast. What a well-placed ultimate. The Buster shot from Forgotten Turtle. And a freed Baron, more or less.
Yeah, calls this man Tree Trunks a buster and gets him on out of there. That is the greatest bouncer you've ever seen, and this is just going to be the dinner bell for this third Drake, potentially for CB Clockwork. You have an Annie in the top lane for Sports Burden. No TP on the board. You really can't answer this at all. That's where most of your damage is coming out of, I think. I mean, there's a lot of damage coming from this Annie, but if she's playing the top lane, you really don't have a shot at coming in to this Dragon Pit. So CB Clockwork gets a very free Baron, and then an even freer Mountain Drake, puts them on Soul Point. They now have 2 Mountain Drakes and an Ocean. I mean, the survivability of these guys is just through the roof. Not to mention the Baron buff they have, so they have great push potential as well. I definitely want to see a 1-3-1 coming out of these guys right now and just having supreme push on the map. This could get out of hand very quickly.
Absolutely. The gold lead has ballooned to about 6,000 now. Only 23 minutes in the game. It's a pretty serious lead. In reality, there's about 77,000 gold in the game, so nearly 10% of the entire gold in the game is in the lead here for CB Clockwork. That is just about right under a significant lead. Probably going to clean it up a little bit here with a few towers as well. Reknal could be in trouble. Lots of damage on Anderson Cooper, but he has the Zonias. The Paranoia gets popped. I can't imagine they want to continue anymore. No, they do. They get the kill perhaps on Anderson Cooper. He will trade his life. And the hook again in between everyone. Dory K just styling on this fight. Kush Marbles will pick him up, but Cook, he has no damage. He just doesn't have a team behind him. Kush Marbles tries to turn things around. 2 for 2 in the end, but really just a solid win still for CB Clockwork.
Yeah, CB Clockwork does come out on top of that. And then they also have the Tristana. Forgotten Turtle is forgotten in that top lane, just split pushing. Now, you don't want to send too close. Never mind, forget what I said about that, because Kush Marbles...
Rocket jump, and that is a solo kill for an ADC.
I was just gonna keep talking because I didn't think that Kush Marbles was gonna die there at all. It's like, okay, well, he's just sitting here. Maybe he's gonna back up and respect the damage that this Tristana has. But I mean, when you have a Kraken Slayer, a Stormrazor, and you also have that BF sword, I mean, you're doing BF damage.
Oh god, it is kind of monstrous here. 525 for the Tristana, 24 minutes in the game, about 60-ish% kill participation on the ADC. A little bit uncommon. A lot of that is because of the 12k KDA there for Dory K at a closer to like what 80% kill participation. You're right. Why is he not just playing Thresh? I mean, without seeing it, I'm not feeling the Leona. The eye check here. You said results-based analysis. The Thresh is his best champion ever played.
Oh yeah, the Thresh it might be the most broken champion in 5 roles. I have to see what Dory K can do if he ever gets flexed into a different role on this Thresh, but we'll have to see how the numbers work out for there. But as of right now, he's definitely the main factor, in my opinion, for why CB Clockwork has had such a great early game and how they've parlayed that into the late game as well. You said an 80%, what do you say, an 80% what rate again? I'm sorry.
Kill participation here for Dory K.
80% kill participation. He's also had about an 80% death sentence hit rate so far. And the one that I remember the most that he missed was in that last fight just up here at a tier 1 red side turret, where he missed the hook, but then he said, okay, I missed the hook. I'm going to steal the kill here. But wait a minute, a flash over the wall there.
85%, excuse me.
85%? Oh, well,
75.
75%?
Yes.
Oh, for the KP.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't a math major. I failed algebra 1.5. So I'll take your word for it.
My second degree is in computer science. I can do a little bit of math, although I did it wrong. Here comes the paranoia. Here comes Kush and Arbuz, and knocked out is all of them. Recknell trying to 1v1 Booty Baby. Booty Baby picks up the 1v1. Could be disaster for the rest of the fight as most of their damage. The hook lands onto whom? It's Kush Marbles, and actually them. Oh my god, what an unstoppable force! It really is. Here comes CB Clockwork with the kill.
Wow, your second degree might be in computer science, but it looks like these guys from the side of Sports Burden, their second degree is in Celsius, because there's absolute zero chance they come back from this game. 11k gold deficit for the Sports Burden, and CB Clockwork making their way to the Nexus turrets. There is not a chance anyone comes back over here to defend this base. This is going to be a 27-minute game, 29 total kills for CB Clockwork, and a very, very convincing win in game number 1.
Yeah, pretty big smashing here at a CB Clockwork. And that'll be Kelvin, the absolute zero feeling here for Support's Burden. We'll have to see how things go into game number 2 and, of course, game number 3 afterwards. Zephyr, I'm going to kick it back to you and Dunzy on the AD. Why don't you break that smash down for us?
Thank you, Hickory, for a wonderful throw. I'm so lost. I'm absolutely lost right now. Granted, let's start off right off the bat and say that Clockwork had a comp to play for success here, right at the beginning. That comp works so well into every working piece into that mid and late game potential. But, you know, man, for Support's Burden as a whole, the potential for these soul lanes, the fact that they had a lot of pick potential, it just never came through here.
No, in fact, they were the ones who were getting picked to themselves. Always caught without numbers, always caught without teleports, that OP summoner usage, always just completely outplayed. Pretty much from about 8 minutes on after they got first Drake, it was CB Clockwork's game, and they just made sure they took 4v3s, they took 3v2s, they had the teamwork, and they had this AoE CC wombo combo with a giant lead in the bot lane from Forgotten Turtle and a hook monster in Dory K. This guy just popped off.
All right, major props to K this week. I have to agree with Shells. The numbers don't lie. You know, he's bringing that Leona win rate down, but the Thresh, he can boost it all he wants. This guy absolutely dominated the position and control going into this bot lane. Granted, there's a lot of misplay from Cook and Jester Hat in terms of their general spacing and kind of being a little bit too aggressive. While they did have some good damage to play around, they weren't appropriately utilizing, it every step of the way. And as a result, Dory just capitalized. He took hook after hook after hook. The control was there. And time again, Forgotten Turtle was assuming lead after lead. And the gold just ballooned.
Yeah. And those hooks, even though they didn't amount to many kills super early on, the pressure that they followed up with was immense.
Right.
At 5 minutes in, Turtle was 20 CS up on that AD carry lane, okay? After that, there was a huge run from Dory K going into the mid lane. They picked up a kill for Bang and Billy. into this Annie who just fell off the map completely. You saw a ton of burst coming from her, but after that kill, she was slowed down. She could no longer just completely solo someone out. And this pick potential that you keep talking about for the side of Jester's Hat just did not show up at all. Instead, Clockwork, they were precise, they were a team,
Well,
and they made sure that they took these fights with numbers.
right. Okay. So I was about to say it's not so much the pick potential wasn't there. It's just that in the constant matchup, right? Whether we talk about numbers wise
Mhm.
or coming into some of these ganks here, it always seemed to be playing at the deficit of support's burden. Granted, that's a big prop to see be playing out on that one, making sure that they
Mhm.
have that position in control. For a team that basically complained that they don't really know what they're doing coming mid to late game, they look like they had it on the ball the entire time. Like constant roaming. I think a lot of confidence is being brought out by K coming through
Mhm.
with the massive hook kind of lineup that engage and then turns it around. Malphite doesn't win the lane here against Kush. Comes back, doesn't matter. He's just an Arbot. Unstoppable force. You saw it there at the end. Massive
Mhm.
quadra knockup.
Yeah, we talked about my keys to winning this game prior to game one entering. Keep Kush contained, which although they did give him first blood, they did an amazing job of making sure that Kush Marbles did not continue to grow that lead. They supported oh my god, Riven Storm in the top lane very,
Right.
very well. And then Clockwork's lane to win and prioritize was that bot side. And guess what? Forgotten Turtle was just a monster. They were able to push their lead so far across the map that it just continued on through from the bot lane, took the towers in the mid lane, took the towers in the top lane, and rotated to make sure that they got those drakes as well.
I mean, I will say your main point, like we just went over, is the Kush kind of don't let him get ahead idea right here for supports burden. One crazy thing is we saw good pull here. You know, they played off the jungle, long or lockdown, and then gave the Revan this kind of deficit and put Kush in a good spot. But immediately they took Reknal, who also was finding marginal success. You saw how little items he had in the burst he was finding on people like John Anderson. And then they switched lanes. They
Yeah.
made a complete rotation. And I honestly don't know why that really occurred. Granted, you have more success if you're Annie killing a Malphite. I can't quite say the same for anybody on top of the Echo. But if your whole point is to get Kush ahead, don't you want him to be playing into the most optimal, successful matchup where he can assume the most gold?
For sure, you definitely want him to be able to sit in a side lane, abuse that isolation, and just push that lead. You saw him take that inner turret pretty early on. They traded it for a Drake. He wasn't able to amount that lead to anything. Um, Anytime that he did join a team fight, it seemed like Clockwork had already either won the fight or they just had more people there. And there was
He just
one
fell
fight.
off.
Yeah, there was an instance near the blue jungle of Support's Burden where Camille kind of was delayed by this really strong equalizer placement from Anderson Cooper. He couldn't get into the fight. Nocturne's flying in with Paranoia. Kaisa's flying in with her Killer Instinct. And so
Right.
there's just a very kind of disjointed fight for Support's Burden. And Kush Marbles wasn't able to support the rest of his team in that case.
I will say we never touched on it, but there's a lot of safety on that CB Clockwork comp that they pulled around last time. Right. No, I'm not talking about Rumble. I'm not talking about Malphite, but the pressure that they have from just their zoning control is enough to keep them safe. I mean, no one wants to walk right into them in the mid to late game, but Tristana, Thresh, Echo, these major carries have so much inherent peel that's then enabled further by Dory K. There's not a lot of opportunities for the pick comp to come out on top completely here. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they tried to take 5v5s, but Clockwork just had the better 5v5 comp in that instance. And again, I mean, numbers win. Shells always talks about these numbers, right?
Shells.
Numbers win. And they had more guys there. So that's how it goes sometimes.